Hello.
Samm Levine, this is Dustin Wilmus from KMSU.
Hey, Dustin, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm pretty totally excellent.
Pretty totally excellent?
Pretty totally
Sounds like
excellent.
You're wavering there.
Well, you know, it kind of comes and goes throughout the day.
I hear you.
So how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. What's going on with the show tonight, fellas?
We're just going to, chat with you about some things and
Okay.
do a great radio show.
All right.
Well, first of all, we will ask you how you got started in acting.
Okay. Are you asking me now?
Yes, that was official.
Okay,
all
go.
right. It
That was
seemed like you were
officially
warming me up to warn me you were going to ask me how I got started.
Okay, we'll work it in, right? Now, Sam, how did you get started in acting?
Well, what a good question. I started when I was really young. I started when I was about 11 years old. I actually started doing stand-up comedy when I was 11 years old. I wrote, bits for myself to do, and I performed my sixth grade talent show. Very exciting. And then I started playing my friends' bar and bat mitzvahs. It's what all the cool Jewish kids do when they turn 13.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so I was 12 years old playing a bunch of my friends' bar mitzvahs, and wouldn't you know it, Lisa Kudrow happened to be in the audience, if you will, at one of these bar mitzvahs I was playing. And Friends was in its first season at that point. This was 1994. And so after she saw me do my set, if you will, she approached me and asked me if I was an actor. And I said no. And she said, oh, well, you should be. You seem like you have the timing for it and everything. So I went home and said, Ma, Lisa Kudrow told me I got to be an actor. That simple. So we went and bought Backstage magazine, which is a pretty famous New York publication of for actors, mostly theater actors, but anyone can pick it up. And picked it up, looked for agents and managers who were looking for new clients, and I found a manager who specifically managed kids who did stand-up. So it was Gold Star Talent Management, and took a meeting with them, and next thing I know, they're sending me out on auditions.
Wow, seems pretty easy.
It sure does, doesn't it? But I assure you, it was not. It would be 4 full years, no, almost 5 full years after that before I actually booked Freaks and Geeks, the TV show that people seem to know me from.
And was that like your first real gig, or?
It was my first big gig. I mean, I'd done a lot of commercials and voiceover work. But in that 5-year period in between, and that's tough. It's really, really tough to audition for commercials because oftentimes you'll get no warning. They'll call you that morning and say, "Hey, can you be there in the afternoon?" And I was living in New Jersey, so to go into Manhattan to audition, it's a bit of a schlep for me and my mom. But she was a wonderful mother, very willing to support me, so she, took me into the city for all these auditions. And, I mean, it is a lot of work. And, man, oh, man, if you are not the type of person who can handle rejection easily, then acting is not for you.
We're used to rejection because of the quality of the show, I think.
How dare you? This is like I only do fine programs.
Well, we're
Yes.
hoping that this will springboard us into the fine territory.
Oh, good.
So how did you get the role of Freaks and Geeks? Was that another one of the friends happened to see you or someplace? Or?
Yeah, it was Schwimmer and I. No, that was actually yet another fluke, if you will. That was a scenario where I'd never been really even allowed to audition for television pilots because no one knew who the hell I was. They usually only let you in the room if at least one of the casting directors knows who you are or someone knows who you are, but it's tough to get your foot in the door if you're only known for doing small regional commercials like I was. But with Freaks and Geeks, Judd Apatow and Paul Feig were specifically seeking out unknown kid actors.
Okay.
Kids who weren't particularly famous, kids who hadn't been established on another show or from movies. So, I mean, that was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity that I happened to be right for.
So then what was it like on the set of that show?
It was great. It was a bunch of, it was John Daly and I were the two actors who were cast out of New York. And then bunch of the other actors were already living in Los Angeles, and then a few others. Seth Rogen came from Vancouver. So we were all pretty excited. It was our first big show. It was our first big anything. And so we were all very, very excited to be there. And I think we all said we had no idea, but I certainly felt at the time, I recognized that it was, of a higher quality than most other shows that I'd ever seen on TV.
No, I think that's quite possibly one of the greatest shows ever.
Well,
totally
thank you. I agree.
And I was totally bummed that it got canceled. Were you also pretty PO'd that it was canceled, or what?
No, I was thrilled. I lost my job. I didn't get to see my friends every day. Of course I was upset.
Yeah, come on, Sam.
You kidding? It was the best show ever. I was upset it went off as a fan.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
pretty
how
great.
much I loved reading those scripts every week, and seeing where they were going to take the story. That was a terrible loss when the show got taken off the air.
Were you surprised afterwards? I suppose you said you kind of recognized it early on that it would have become the big cult hit that it has now.
I never knew. See, that was the thing. I never knew if the fans would appreciate it. I knew it was of the highest quality, but I didn't know how it was going to be perceived. I mean, when we were on NBC, no one watched the show. I mean, we had a viewership I think we're averaging maybe 3 or 4 million viewers an episode, and to give you an idea, at the time, a show like Friends or ER was averaging 25 to 30 million people. So, I mean, we were really at the low end of the television spectrum. And, I think it was only once the show started getting rerun on the Fox Family Channel in August of 2000 that's when we started to really generate this bigger fan base. I mean, which isn't to say we had no fans when we were on NBC. We had several very passionate fans. I mean, several hundred very, very passionate fans. They, if memory serves, I believe when there was talk that the show was going to get canceled, these few hundred passionate fans actually pooled all of their money together and bought an ad in Daily Variety, the big publication out here, that said, "Hey, save Freaks and Geeks." And I mean, that is really unusual. Things like that are a little more common now. With fans trying to save a show, maybe they'll do a big internet campaign, or they'll send pencils or what have you to a network. But back in 1999 or early 2000, that was really unusual that the fans would rally behind a show like they did to us, and we are all eternally grateful to them for staying with us and fighting so hard for us. And I think that's why the show is still on so many people's minds so many years later. I mean, we're talking, this is a show we did in 99. It's 11 years ago.
Yeah. How do you cancel a show with Biff Tannen on it? I just don't know.
I want to know.
I don't get it.
He's going to kick your butt, right?
Do you have any, especially weird stories or memories from being on set?
Not weird. Nothing weird happened. But, gosh, let's see. Well, here's one, since you bring up Biff Tannen. Tom Wilson, the wonderful, talented actor who played Biff and Coach Fredericks on the show, I was and am a huge Back to the Future fan. And so when we're shooting the pilot, I asked him a couple questions about Back to the Future, and he was really sweet, really polite with me, answered them as best he could, even though I'm sure they're questions he had been asked 1,000 times before. Really nice about it. But then the show gets picked up, and then he has to see me, every couple of days. And so I am just pounding him. How was this? How was that? How did this go? What was that scene like? And eventually he just hit his breaking point. And so we're talking probably somewhere around October of 99. He says to me, "You know what, Sam? Here's what we're going to do. Come January 1st, 2000, it will have been 15 years since Back to the Future came out. And I'm going to have to declare a moratorium on all Back to the Future-related questions from you. You're going to have to go to the Internet to find the answers if you want them from now on. So once you go home tonight, write yourself a list. Write down all the questions you think you're going to have and make sure you get them into me before January 1st. Because after then, no more Back to the Future."
Oh, that's great.
We've been trying to get an interview with him, too. Maybe he would probably get mad if we had him on because we'd do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a funny thing about him, actually, if you look at his resume, he has quite a bit of other work.
Yeah.
But of course that's all anyone wants to talk about. I guess he's got to get on some other huge thing and have people think about him differently. That was what I thought I had going on when I got Inglourious Basterds, but no, everyone still wants to talk about Freaks and Geeks, which is fine by me. I'll talk about it all day and night.
Oh, we can talk about that too if you want. I mean,
no, we can talk. I'll talk about anything. There are no off-limits topics to me.
Well, do you still keep in touch with the cast from Freaks and Geeks now after all these years?
Yes, quite a few of them, actually. John Daly and I are still very close. We always have been. And I see the rest of the cast from time to time here and there. Just saw Linda and Martin Starr a couple weeks ago. They're both doing great. There was never any animosity between any of us, so that really helped. And also the fact that we were only on the one season never really allowed enough time for any feuds to develop or anything. So we're all still really cordial and nice and friendly with each other, which is rare.